Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
My Own Court. That's right. The life story of tennis legend John Riggio, author of the book I just mentioned, and of course, pro tennis player with so many amazing stories. What a background, what a career. Continues to play today. I also must say he's a world-renowned architect based out of New Jersey, but really does so much beautiful commercial residential work in the tri-state area. So multifaceted. Our friend John, how are you doing today?
Hi, Jill. How's everything?
Fantastic. Excited to be here and excited to see you and to talk more tennis today.
Yeah, I've been thinking about all the different memories of the past, and I've been thinking about my book. I have the copy of the book right here, My Own Court, The Life Story of Tennis Legend John Riggio. And this book has all my stories about tennis. It includes my architect profession because the architect profession also connected all the old stories and produced this book eventually. So this is really good. You'd really like it. And so I think as far as the book, I've been thinking about all different things, some things that I left out of the book, some things that maybe I want to add to the book. And really what was happening was some things that I didn't put in the book but are very important about my tennis was I never turned down a tennis match. Whenever they set up a pro tennis match, I always played it. Some people, they play a strategy of skipping a tennis match and seeing if they could win someplace else. Because if you were to skip a tennis match, what happens is they lower your ranking 1 point. It's very difficult to go back up a point. You might go down a point and never go back up. So one thing about my tennis playing, I was always confident to play tennis and really liked it. And I wasn't really afraid to lose the match. Also, if I lost a match here and there, it wasn't going to ruin my tennis playing, my tennis career. Somehow, every once in a while, when I lost a match too, my tennis value started to go up because
Mhm.
when I came back to win the next match, everyone was switching sides. Like every time if I lost a match, that means it's over. My career is going down. And then when I came back to win again, my value was started to go up so high. They sometimes if I lost a match, they might think after I started winning again that I was acting like a tennis shark. And I was fooling them.
You are.
I
Oh
think
my
I'm just a
God.
regular player. I don't necessarily, I can't win every single match. I'm just an ordinary player. I'm not a robot playing. So, so that was one interesting thing. And one thing I didn't really explain over the time, I was just thinking about it, but when I was playing at a certain point, had my own tennis centers. They used to have on the end matches, the important matches, they used to have an opening uh, game with
Hmm.
with two players that were lower ranked. They would do something like, say, you go to a concert and they have the opening show.
Uh-huh.
They used to do an opening match, and then after
Ah,
that was over,
the newbies. Yeah.
I would then play the match. That was the big match. So that was very good, and they did really nice things. And I think I've already said before, but that league that they had made for me, uh, that really was changing things, was called the National Tennis League, and that was bought back by the ATP. And then also at the end, the last chapter where my tennis, they tested me. I wanted to point out that I did pass the test in 1999 to continue my tennis playing. And I think that is sort of an indication that my new sponsors, they didn't want to waste my talent. They know I was sitting at home and I could play tennis and they wanted me to come back to play. All the little problems to really get all that full amount of playing going again was really separate, but my playing ability was there. I did pass the test. They had another pro player play with me, test my skills, and just coming off from not playing, I was able to get back on the court, and I was able to play good enough that they could see I can continue playing pro tennis. So that was really amazing. And so I think there was all kinds of interesting things. One interesting thing I didn't say, which was really very a shocking story, and I didn't put it in the book. I don't know if people really wanted to hear this kind of thing, but when I was playing there at particularly the Sutton East, I developed this ability to sleep standing up. In between matches, I had to wait maybe 15 minutes to a half hour. So I wasn't
Never
allowed.
heard this before. Wait, really? Okay.
Yes. I wasn't allowed to sit down. They told me not to sit down, and I think the main reason of not sitting down was so they don't that my muscles would start to tighten up. Then I'm gonna get cramps. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have snacks and drinks. Everything is gonna go off. So they had me just stand there on the tennis court,
Hmm.
and I started to learn how to first start to go to sleep, and I could really go to sleep standing up. But what started to develop was this very interesting thing also at that particular location was since the tennis bubble was put in place, it's brand new. I have a new manager there. They haven't been there for like 10 years. It's brand new. It's just opened. So they didn't know that rats would start to get into my tennis court. And they didn't have traps set up before the tennis playing was going. So this kind of thing developed without anyone knowing it. And what happened was, as I was sleeping, standing up, uh, what was happening was the one time there was like a rat sleeping on my sweats while I'm standing up. And sometimes I would hear like noises or something, and I'd start to wake up and I wonder what it is. And there's like a rat underneath, for instance, the top part of my sweats. I used to pull the bottom top of like track sweats. They look similar to track sweats. So you put the bottom on, you put the top on with a zipper. And the rat somehow started sleeping with me. And I remember there was like one rat one time. One time even I woke up standing on the court and there was two rats. One was in my leg, the other one was in my jacket and the top part of my sweats.
Hmm.
So I couldn't believe this. I start to wake up and I feel the rat on one side like this, and then I feel the rat on my leg, and I start to, shake them off with it all. And I think when this happened, they usually just run away.
Hmm.
I think it sort of became a little funny because when I told the manager about it, they thought it was funny. They of course he went back and told the sponsors about the rats, and they thought it was a little funny because like they wondered why the rats were acting so friendly with me. They were sleeping uh, on my sweats, and they thought it was strange. I think what happened was it came to sort of sort of a point where one day the rat was went crazy. The rat wasn't a happy rat anymore, and the rat tried to attack me. So instead of just sleeping very nicely in my sweats and running away every once in a while, the rat
Uh,
came and I had like this big battle with the rat. And
Always a story. I love
yeah, and the rat wasn't very nice either. He really tried to jump right at my head.
it.
He was
Hmm.
really attacking me. I don't know what happened. Maybe he became a rat or something. But I ended up taking my racket and I ended up swinging, and he went flying through the air. And now I think since this whole thing with the rats was funny, they didn't want to kill the rats. What they did is that rat, it ended up getting up and just ran away. But I think at that point they decided to then call the rat exterminator, set up some traps, and they're very gentle with the rats. They took the rats and they took them away. So after that point, the rat problem was gone. But this whole thing developed from me learning how to sleep on the courts, and then the whole thing with the rats was really an unexpected problem. They weren't really knowledgeable about this whole thing with the rats. No one told them, and So when the whole thing with the rat really going wild, eventually at one point they finally solved the problem. And but in the meantime, that whole thing with the sleeping and the rats was taking place. It was really very interesting what was happening. And the rats were very large.
Oh
It
my,
was like a 12-inch long rat. I can't believe how big they were.
oh,
That's why they thought maybe there was like a friendly pet or something.
yeah.
They were just sleeping very nice. And but since in the end, when the rats went wild, they finally were able to get rid of them. So that was really some very interesting story. I left it out of the book. I was thinking about putting it in the book, but I didn't want to really distract things. Maybe so I just left it out of the book. And but that was a very interesting event that took place with those rats, and this had to do with me learning how to sleep standing up. And it is very interesting. I think this thing with sleeping standing up, I think one time when I first started to develop this skill, I remember waking up and falling down. But I think almost all the time I never had a problem sleeping standing up. But somehow I developed this ability to just like stay there sleeping for 15 minutes. And then when someone started to walk into the court, the glass door, they'd open the glass door there, and I would just wake back up and I'm ready to play. I'm a little bit more refreshed too. They really didn't want me sitting down at all. I think after the story with the rats, they still did not want me sitting down on the benches or anything. They know it was going to develop into a problem of getting cramps, muscle pulls, and maybe starting to have like snacks and things like that. So that whole story was really very interesting. And
Sure was.
as yeah, of course, tennis is I'm very young and thin, and it is really unbelievable. They thought maybe even maybe one of the rats were one of my girlfriends, in a dream or something with me. But so the whole thing just ended like that, and that was really what was happening. So I think that was really an amazing thing. I think there were some interesting things going on. I think one thing that I was just thinking about was some college stories. One thing I left out of the book, but is very interesting, was this whole
Wow.
thing with going to college and playing tennis. Now, at first, I described this that I was accepted into Clemson, and that's with the help of I received a recommendation from my coach, and I was accepted in 1984, but way before I even graduated high school. Now, since that didn't go ahead, and that didn't go ahead because of my parent, what happened was after that was I received some help with a college advisor, and the college advisor gave me some tests. I took the CLEP test and everything like that, and of course, it proved like they thought that I was a very smart student. And this was had to do with architect work. So at this point, the Clemson with the tennis, I still make contacts with them. But as far as the everyday education and my professional architect career, uh, they submitted some applications, and one school that I was accepted to was Cooper Union. Now, Cooper Union really liked me. I visited the school. Now, what happened there was after like a year, I'm playing at Sutton East, the same location with those rats. And but what happened was, my sponsor, Gloria Vanderbilt, she's very nice. She asked me about college, and when I told her I was accepted into Cooper Union, and she told me that I was told the whole story about how they own Cooper Union. Uh, her husband owns Cooper Union,
I
and
didn't know that. Okay.
they gave me a scholarship to go there for free. So I was like, okay, I was really happy about that. So unfortunately, the whole thing will be switching over to Cooper Union from NYIT didn't go ahead. And I think for one reason,
hmm
NYIT was the first with the whole thing with setting up the architect career. They think they had preferential um or I would have to go to their school first, unless they really. didn't want me to go there. And then after that, after the whole thing, I was accepted into Cooper Union, was I received a free scholarship from the Vanderbilts, and I went over to their admission office in Cooper Union, and unfortunately, it was a little sad story. So I didn't add it in the book because it didn't work out where I
Yeah.
switched schools. The administrator there at the Cooper Union, he had my folder. He saw I was accepted into school, and it's in writing there. And but he didn't like the idea of me getting free funding from the owners of the
Mm.
school. There was a little separation between the owners of the school and the board of directors of the college. So instead of working out the problem, which they probably easily could have, the administration didn't have me go to the school. Even though I was accepted, I think if you're accepted in school, you should walk over to the admission office, to the bursar, you pay the fee, they give you your courses, and you're in the school. Most people would do that. But since they made a big controversy of it, it ended up that instead of getting free cottage that was worth like $50,000 back then, my sponsor ended up having to pay $50,000 to the lawyer to get the guy off of the board of directors. So that is a sad thing. So a lot of their efforts went to for solving that problem, but I didn't switch over to that school. So
Wow.
that's one thing. So this whole situation also with my college NYIT at the lead. And since I'm situated close to the tennis, worked out very good. I didn't really even have to discuss it. Next college was Yale. I was a very smart student. They could tell I have the National Arts Scholar designation, and they approved me to go to their school. After a few phone calls and interviews, the idea of going there was very good, but unfortunately, there was some serious sad things. One of them was the dangers of me going to school and possibly them wanting to get me drunk and I could get killed. And
Yeah.
that was a real serious conversation that was taking place. The next one was driving an hour and 45 minutes from Connecticut over back to the National Tennis Center on a weekly basis was going to wear me down. So there was some unknowns. So since there was some unknowns and NYIT was really the first say in where I go to school, I didn't go over to Yale. I stayed at NYIT. And that was just like the present situation. So those are some interesting stories about colleges surrounding my career. And I think some of those were very stressful. This whole thing was very stressful. The stories with Cooper Union, I ended up talking to them a few times over the years. Yale, I talked to them a few times over the years. It was very stressful. Um, but everything worked out very nicely with my architecture going to NYT and having I'm local over there and I could just drive over to the tennis center, just drive over with my sweats on back to college, and everything worked okay. So that was just some very interesting stories that were taking place.
Got it.
And
Wow.
also at that time, I was saying I didn't put it into the book, but one of my friends was really Jennifer Lopez, who's the uh, well-known music entertainer these days. And she was really there because her contract size was about the same size as
Ah,
mine, 25 million and 50 million. And she was a good friend of mine. She was really a girlfriend, and I knew her pretty well. I used to talk to, I didn't elaborate before, but I did just the basic things. Used to talk on the phone with her, and she's ordinary nice lady, so it was pretty good. I didn't put it in the book because I didn't want to really uh, give a complete, concise encyclopedia of everything that happened. And that is basically what happened. But I knew her a number of years, in fact, longer than Britney Spears. So that is one interesting story. And one thing about her I was just thinking about recently was she's someone who was standing alone, which is similar to me. We're about the same age. I'm 57 now. She's about the same age, 57. We're about the same age, and I noticed we at the tennis, she would come to my tennis center. She would come there alone. Some people always made sure they were there with one or two friends. So she was always able to stand alone. Maybe it's our generation that was like that. I don't know. But I was always like that. And one nice thing about tennis, with pro tennis and going to the tennis center that even though I would go there alone, there's so many people that know what I'm doing and they are backing me, knowing they want to keep me safe. So I would go there and say my coach would know I'm there, my sponsor would know I'm there. They have a manager, and they would check up later how I am, call me before I go there. So I was very insulated, and that
Yeah.
goes all the way back to um, starting when I was sponsored at 9 years old. That someone was watching what I'm doing when it came to tennis, that they were concerned about me, making sure I'm safe. I think the one very interesting thing is now that I play a lot of recreational tennis, it's completely different. You're all on your own, and no one knows what you're doing. No one
Yep.
cares what you're doing. If you go and you play flexi, you meet a stranger someplace on a court. You're all alone. No one's watching. It isn't really as good an experience. The pro tennis, one nice thing about it is that everyone knows you're playing. A lot of people are rooting for you, of course, to win, and they want to make sure you're safe. So that was one interesting thing about playing tennis. So when I'm talking about these stories, it's a story that's really where I'm insulated and I'm playing and there's somewhat safety. The only little openings where things aren't safe is sometimes leaving the tennis court
Yep.
or from the home traveling to the tennis court.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the time, particularly the Southeast, there was a lot of things started to come up at that point. One of them was a protest outside the uh, tennis center, and that was a little dangerous because getting past the protest and into the tennis center was a little dangerous. And some players that I was going to play, they made the mistake of walking right past the a group of protesters. And by doing that, they ended up getting hurt. One of them got hit and he ended up having a big problem with one of the protesters attacking him. So he even had to go to the hospital. He had to go to the hospital and then he had to come back later. He had hurt himself. He got hurt and the other guy ended up having a problem too. I think getting from home to the tennis center, there was even a problem a couple times. I was on there and I was still very young. I used to sleep on the subway. I think most people, when they're traveling the subway in New York City, they're not gonna take a little nap. But I was very young. I was there in my sweats and my bag with my change of clothes and tennis racket, and I was sleeping on the subway. And I think on one occasion there was like someone looking around, like someone like maybe homeless or something,
Uh-huh.
trying to steal from my pockets. And
Ah.
when we came to the station, I escorted him off the subway,
Hmm.
and everyone in the subway car started screaming crazy. They started to tell me they want me to become the mayor, they want me to become the president. They were so amazed. I mean, it was really so unbelievable. And then a lot of times I used to take like the E line back then. In this like in the city, you take different subway lines, there's different experiences. So I from there I just went from the E line, I started to switch over to the R
Mm-hmm.
line to get to the tennis center over on Sutton East. So that was really interesting. And then I used to take the subway back. So that was a really very interesting stories. And so there was a whole world of events going on with people clapping, cheering on the subway, and it was amazing. I think when I was taking the subway and like taking a nap, no one told me by taking a nap somehow there was any danger. I was very comfortable because I used to take the Long Island Railroad a lot of times into the,
Yep.
and then from there I'd get onto the subway. The Long Island Railroad, I always used to sleep. I think they had the old trains when I was still young at that time, and I used to open the
I
windows.
remember.
Fresh air used to flow right into my seat. I think like the people taking the tickets, I always used to think it was funny that I was like sleeping there and feeling very relaxed taking the train. Taking the subway, I didn't know there was really any danger acting the same way, just feeling a little more relaxed. But I eventually learned how to, to not snooze off in the subway and just stay alert. So that's one very interesting thing that was happening.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're almost out of time. In our last minute, we got to wrap it up here, if you don't mind. I just also want to make sure we promote to my own court the life story of tennis legend John Riggio, the book. I know it's kind of hard to see here. When you hold it up, it's even better. Go ahead.
Yeah, so recently I've been going to some book shows
Mm-hmm.
and I've had some people come up and they really wanted to have a signed copy of the book. I have one picture of the book I could show you of someone I gave the book to, and they're really happy about it. Let me just get this here. And you can see this young lady here. She has the book. I signed it for her. I even put some of them in this like little plastic cover so they don't get ruined in the rain. If because I don't know if everyone has like a bag with them, a plastic bag, and so I have this little wrapper around there. And I
Mm-hmm.
have this one also. This is a nice book show here, and that's the
Nice.
little Venmo link to uh get a book. So this here is just one new fan that bought my book and
Yay.
signed it for her, and she was really happy with it. This is a really nice picture.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for sharing and congrats. This is awesome. JohnRiggio.com. Google him, join the Facebook page, John Riggio Pro Tennis. And of course, looking forward to talking more tennis, more architecture. You got it. You do so much. Thank you for being here.
No, you're welcome, Jill. Thanks.
Thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.